in Nashville as the field packs up. Romain Grosjean on the outside in that yellow and red DHL Honda for Andretti Autosport. It's McLaughlin for Team Penske in the Deck Chevy, and he accelerates now. Green flies. Away goes McLaughlin.
Boy, McLaughlin waited till the last possible second to get on the throttle, but it pays off with a jump into turn one.
3 wide, Graham Rahal on the inside, sandwiching. It looks like Jack Harvey and Rinus VeeKay makes that move work. Now side by side down into turn 10. Everybody tiptoeing right now.
Second year in a row that Colton Herta finds the wall at Nashville.
Down into turn 4, he's got Dalton Kellett on the inside and just, contact with the 4, pushes him wide, gets into the tire barrier.
Delio Castroneves in the 06.
And this is what happened to the 4-time Indianapolis 500 winner. He's being chased by Rossi and just loses it by himself. Ready to go back to racing. Watch for the green. There it is. Let's go.
Big jump from Alex Palou. You see Simon Pagenaud there trying to line up Jimmy Johnson. Side by side behind him into turn 9. A little bit of tire smoke. Christian Lundgaard.
Big lockup from Lundgaard.
As, Graham Rahal has contact.
Oh, and a Pato Award is there as well. This is going to bring out a caution.
Oh, way more drama.
Let's see what happened here.
Whoa, Graham Rahal actually hit Pato Award into Will Power. That's what caused Will to, that explains the loss of drive from Pato Award, the gearbox at the back of the car there.
Same issue here. That's Pato's view. As Graham Rahal got into him, he got into Will Power. Rossi and Callum Ilott get together, go to the runoff. Ilott with a flat right rear. He pulls off the track. Rossi continues.
Got driven into.
McLaughlin lights it up in the Dex Chevy.
Devlin DiFrancesco, it looks like, is in the wall up in turn 10. There it is. Takuma Sato involved in that as well. That will bring out yet another caution. Green flag waves.
Simon Pagenaud doing what he did before, and he's not letting him get away. Who's making the moves? Rinus VeeKay up the inside. Big lockup from Simon Pagenaud, and that allows the rookie Malukas to have a look.
I'm pretty sure Pagenaud got to the back of the number 10 car. Alex Palou was able to hang on. Here comes McLaughlin in that red and white Team Penske car.
Nice defensive positioning from David Malukas there, not getting bullied around by Scott McLaughlin, but now McLaughlin tries into 11. They touch.
Malukas defends, getting very aggressive.
Graham Rahal just all by himself into turn 4. We know that Rinus VeeKay was fresh out of the pits on cold tires. Maybe not enough time to react to the 15 in the wall. You see both fronts lock up. Will Power was so lucky to avoid that.
Wow, and Jimmy Johnson as well.
But look at that blue and orange PNC car. That is Scott Dixon with an ear-to-ear smile. He knows what a massive stroke of luck he has just been dealt here.
Look at this, Kirkwood. 3 wide, Kirkwood on the inside.
Kirkwood with a kiss of Harvey, who gets into Colton Herta. Now Herta's teammate Grosjean in the yellow and red car up the inside. Is Herta gonna let off?
Absolutely not. That's gonna open the door for Scott McLaughlin on the 28. He goes through on Romain Grosjean as well.
What has happened between David Malukas and Kyle Kirkwood? Kirkwood goes for the move on the inside. Oof. Here we go.
It was a great lineup and a late green flag, but a great jump from Scott Dixon out front.
Big moves, McLaughlin on Herta.
Grosjean's going to get him down into turn 11. Does he have maybe a bit of a problem? Oh, and Grosjean goes for another one. Marcus Ericsson.
Great move, and then Herta's able to pay it back on Ericsson.
Somebody said tire pressures. I'm guessing somebody might have a tire going down. Is that Ericsson?
Oh, Jimmy Johnson. He had a big crash here last year, and he's had one this year.
Yeah, on the bumps, upset it. That's a big hit.
Ooh.
With just 5 laps to go, and Dixon blasts away. Dixon didn't hang about.
Oh, Rossi does not want to let Newgarden by, but Newgarden's going to be able to force his way. Look at Newgarden pass 3 cars in 1 corner.
Oh, and Grosjean is in the wall.
I think the 2 went in with a little bit too much speed. You know, there's no way Romain saw him coming. He was 3 cars back when Romain turned in.
Look left.
Oh man,
he was there.
He was there, but he moved into him.
Let's go! Look at Palou in the blue NTT data car on the inside of Lundgaard.
An expert jump from Alex Palou to take that third position, and here comes Rossi and Herta.
It was a Ganassi victory last year. Will it be a Ganassi victory this year? After having such an eventful start to the race, McLaughlin tries to drag race Dixon and can't do it. Scott Dixon wins the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix.
Holy smokes, well done guys, man, that was hard.
What a drive, what a result. The two Scots drag racing out of turn 11.
He now has sole possession of second on the all-time wins list with career win 53.
Watch the Bommarito Automotive Group 500 Saturday, August 20th at 6 p.m. on USA Network.
And with all of that, good evening, race fans, and welcome to another edition of the Push to Pass podcast. I am Derik Vance, and what you just witnessed there was the race highlights from this past Sunday, the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix that took place in the streets of Nashville. Push to Pass and Indy News was able to cover the event all weekend. A huge thank you to the Music City Grand Prix individuals that not only put on an amazing event this weekend, but allowed both the Push to Pass podcast along with Indy News to be able to cover that event. And we have a lot of content coming from that event as well this weekend. Also on tap, we have a interview from this past Friday in the media bullpen, which was poorly attended, by the way, if you were following Twitter. If you were following Jenna Fryer on Twitter, she definitely got into that. To say the least. So we got an interview from a particular driver there on Friday. We'll get to also too. I was able to sit down with fellow IndyCar podcaster and YouTuber David Land for an interview. So we'll play that here in its entirety coming up here shortly. And then also too, walking around the grounds there on Sunday, I was able to catch up with a couple fans and grab a couple interviews from the fans' perspective as well for the race this Sunday. So we'll get to that here momentarily as well. But first and foremost, like I said, this is episode number 11, if you can believe that or not. And again, we will recap the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix in its entirety this past weekend. But first, before we get to that, let's go to that interview. I was able to catch up with a certain driver this past Friday. So let's get to that interview.
Nice to meet you as well.
Here with Push to Pass and somebody that's infamous to the Indianapolis 500. But we're here in Nashville. I have Elio Castroneves joining us. Elio, I know we've only been here about a year, and I know they've made some changes. Talk about that with your walk through the track the other day.
You know, it's obviously last year was everything new. Nobody knew what to expect, and there were some rough edges that this year they made the modification to smooth that out. But the characteristic still is going to be the same. Very tough track, very challenged place. And, it's going to be unpredictable again. So we just got to stay in course, stay out of trouble. That's going to be the key to be successful.
I know this is only the second year here in Nashville, but what's your thoughts coming here for the second year in a row?
Well, no question. The fans are big supporter. The press is a huge supporter. That's what we need. You know, every time we come to a place, you want to make sure that people know what's happening, and they're going to have a good time. So whether it's going to be raining or not, which we are okay to race on the wet, it's going to be a lot of fun.
People that are coming down Sunday for the race, what can they expect?
They're going to expect a lot of going on, you know, like the weather, the challenge of the track, and hopefully a lot of celebration.
Elio, thank you for stopping by. Good luck on Sunday.
Thanks for having me.
Huge thank you again, first and foremost, to the number 6 driver there of the Sirius XM Auto Nation Meyer Shank Racing Honda, and Elio Castroneves for stopping by, being able to have a few minutes with him. Definitely an opportunity of a lifetime for sure, and one that that I will never ever soon forget, to say the least. But getting back again to what took place this past weekend, the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. What a interesting race. What a crash-filled race. A lot of accordion cars. A lot of cars missing parts and pieces. As the race unfolded. A lot of wrecks again. This is the second year in a row. Going to be interesting to see what the engineers in Nashville decide for 2023. I know the drivers have put a lot of input as to what they would like to see. But as I mentioned, opening up the show, got a couple fans' perspective of the event as well. So let's get into what some of the fans thought of this race. Not only the race, but what they've noticed from year 1 to year number 2. So let me get rather to those 2 interviews. Here's the first one. Welcome back here to the Push to Pass podcast, and I'm here live, as you can hear in the background, in Nashville, covering the NTT IndyCar Series for the Music City Grand Prix, and I have with me
John Honey.
John. Are you here from Nashville?
Yeah, we're here for local. Yeah.
What's your thoughts? I don't know. Have you been here all weekend? What's the atmosphere like? What have you witnessed here?
Actually, this is our first day here, but my son and I were lucky enough to have some paddock passes, and we're enjoying the GT right now. It's a great experience for us.
Being a first-timer here, obviously, did you come last year?
No, we didn't. Wanted to, just was not able to,
So being a first time here and first day, what are some of your thoughts, walking around here?
Actually, it's just very exciting. Getting to see the cars, a smile on his face is putting a smile on mine. It's great stuff.
Have you ever been to any other NTT IndyCar series or anything, that is the magnitude of what you're seeing here?
No, no, we haven't.
So you obviously you're here for IndyCar. Do you have a favorite driver?
We do not. Again, this is kind of our first dip into everything, so we're just enjoying it as it comes. But everything's been great.
Anything you've been walking around here as well, and obviously you being happy is making your dad happy. That's how parenting works. What's some of the things that you've seen?
I really like seeing them work on the cars, and I really just liked everything. The food is great, the drinks are great, and the only thing I dislike is the heat.
Yeah, I think everybody here would be in agreement that the heat is something that you just have to adapt and overcome to. But are you looking forward to the IndyCar race today later on?
I really am.
And as you said, your dad doesn't have a favorite driver, do you?
No, not really.
All right, thank you guys for your time.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Welcome back. Welcome back here to the Push to Pass podcast. Back live here from the Nashville street course, covering the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. And what I have a collection of here is one of my favorite drivers, and obviously their favorite as well. Huge Pato Award fans. Folks, who do we have?
Tegan.
JP from Colorado.
Aaron. David Cabrera.
Tony from Colorado.
All right, everybody sounds like the consensus is from Colorado. Sounds like, all right. What brought you guys here to Nashville first and foremost? First time?
No, this is actually our second time. We were here last year and just been following Pato. When we had the chance to come here, we did it.
So obviously, Pato is your guys' favorite driver. Were you guys here last year?
Yeah.
What have you noticed from last year to this year? Improvements, changes, anything?
Yeah, more water stations, more food vendors, better organization. There's more maps. They actually did improve a lot. It's so much better than last year.
The only thing I've heard bad, the consensus is the heat. Are you guys in the same boat there? I know obviously that's something you can't control.
Yeah, you can't control that, but they clearly prepared with more stations, more water. It's Nashville, man. It's this is how hot it gets all the time.
So as you said, following Pato Award this season, it's definitely been up and down, very consistent. With about 3 races left to go, he is right there in the title hunt. Does he have enough to push it across the finish line?
I think that if they can get through this one without those minor errors that they had yesterday, it should be there. I believe that he can do it.
You know, following Pato, being part of Arrow McLaren, they've been in the news an awful lot lately. Curious to get your guys' thoughts if you follow it on the Alex Palou situation. Curious to hear what the outcome you guys think that's going to be.
I still think Pato's number one. I think he's still going to lead. He's team lead. I got a signed hat by Alex too, but I mean, Pato's the man.
That would be, though, you have to agree, though, that would be one heck of a team if it was to come together next year, having Pato Award, Alexander Rossi, and Alex Palou.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll push each other even more. So you got that healthy team competition. So I would like to see it personally.
So last thing here, as a collective, obviously this is already scheduled for 2023. How would you guys improve if you had the ability? How would you improve this event?
I would have to say the check-in points. Probably just smooth those out a little bit more. The entry and the exits. Other than that, everything else was pretty well organized. Same, I agree.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Welcome back here to the Push to Pass podcast. Back live here from the Nashville Street Course, covering the big.
Oops, sorry about that. But huge thank you to that group of fans for not only giving me their time there for a little bit of a interview, but for people that weren't able to catch the race this weekend. Hopefully, they were able to paint a picture for you as to the improvements from last year to this year. So, getting into the race itself, again, what a interesting, wild race 2 years in a row. And if you weren't paying attention, if you didn't get to see it, well, the GOAT, Scott Dixon, yes, the GOAT, ladies and gentlemen, moves just a little bit closer to another championship after his win on Sunday. Scott Dixon, the aforementioned Scott Dixon, showed everyone on Sunday why he is the GOAT when it comes to the NTT IndyCar Series. After all the smoke and debris cleared, Dixon put his number 9 PNC Bank Chip Ganassi Racing Honda in victory lane, and now he sits just second on the all-time career wins list at 53, just behind the legendary A.J. Foyt with 67 career wins. Not only did Dixon put himself alone in second place on the all-time wins list, but he also moved one step closer to collecting his 7th, yes, ladies and gentlemen, 7th NTT IndyCar Series championship, which ironically would tie him with the aforementioned Foyt for the most NTT IndyCar championships with 7. The 6-time champion is now just 6 points behind current points leader Will Power, which we'll show the updated standings here momentarily. Dixon passed 3 cars at the start of the race, then lost 1 spot, ran over some debris from a chain reaction accordion stunt that was started by Graham Rahal and his number 15 United Rentals Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing Honda, which there'll be some news about that here coming up as well. Running into the back of Pato Award and his number 5 Arrow McLaren SP Chevrolet in turn 6 on lap number 26, following one of many restarts on the day. That also forced many drivers to try and squeeze past and break earlier than expected. And 2 victims of that wreck were Dalton Kellett in his number 4 K-Line, AJ Foyt Racing Chevrolet, along with Simona Di Silvestro in her number 16 Peretta Autosport Chevrolet. And again, stay tuned because there'll be some news concerning Simona Di Silvestro later in the show as well. The debris caused damage in the floor of the Chip Ganassi Racing Honda of Dixon's, and it also punctured a tire. But Dixon, the GOAT that he is, dug down deep and drove his way through the field, which kept getting condensed by more and more caution flags. With the red flag waving with 3 laps left to go, Joseph Newgarden in his number 2 PPG Team Penske Chevrolet bounced literally off the wall Roman Grosjean in his number 28 DHL Andretti Autosport Honda into the wall, which then Dixon was able to endure and secure a 1.5 lap dash to the checkered flag on old tires, holding off the fast and undamaged number 3 Dex Imaging Team Penske Chevrolet of pole sitter for the race, Scott McLaughlin. He passed the checkered flag with a lead of just 0.2 seconds. Some quotes after the race from Dixon. The tough thing about the weekend was knowing that the PNC Bank number 9 was super fast. We proved that in the warm-up, Dixon said after the race. Kudos to the team. We had a big crash there. We looked half off the floor, so we had to take 4 turns of front wing out. We had no grip. And then I think we did 40 to 50 laps on that set of tires. So the last stop, we didn't even take tires. And then, oh man, Nashville is so awesome. I was really worried about Scott McLaughlin because I thought he'd take a chance. He kind of has had to with the standings at the moment, and he was super fast on fresher tires. So I thought I was a sitting duck. A lap or 2 more would have been really tough for us to do. McLaughlin, who suffered a bad pit stop that dropped him to P15, was asked how much more time he needed to earn his 3rd win of the season. McLaughlin now is 58 points back with 3 races to go. Quote, 1 lap, we were side by side across the finish line. We were 15th on the last pit exchange, just had an awesome restart, and the car was fast. It was unreal. Just fell short at the end, but congratulations to Scotty. I've always dreamed about racing him until the end. I had a lot of fun, and that's why I came to the IndyCar Racing League. This is the best racing in the world. And great weekend, great for the points. We'll just keep pushing in the last 3 races of the year. So again, huge kudos there to Scott Dixon for retaining the win on Sunday and clinching his 53rd career win, which, as I said, puts him 2nd in the all-time list, right behind the legendary A.J. Foyt. Looking at the results from Sunday's race as they populate there on your screen. Obviously finishing P1, Scott Dixon. Then it was Scott McLaughlin, Alex Palou, Alexander Rossi, Colton Herta, Joseph Newgarden, Felix Rosenquist, Christian Lundgaard, who was the highest finishing rookie in P8, Simon Pagenaud, and then rounding out the top 10 was Jack Harvey. Then it was Will Power, Rinus VeeKay, Elio Castroneves, who we heard from earlier in the show, Marcus Ericsson, Callum Ilott, Roman Grosjean, Connor Daly, Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Kirkwood, and then rounding out the top 20 was fellow rookie David Malukas. To finish it out, Takuma Sato, Delvin DeFrancesca, Graham Rahal, Pato Award, Dalton Kellett, and then finishing P26 was Simona Di Silvestro. So that wraps up the finishing order for the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. Now let's take a look at the points and what a points battle we have with just 3 races to go. Will Power has a 4-point lead over last Sunday's winner, Scott Dixon. Then it is Marcus Ericsson, Joseph Newgarden, Alex Palou, Scott McLaughlin, Pato Award, Alexander Rossi, Felix Rosenquist, and Colton Herta round out the top 10. Then it's Rinus VeeKay, Simon Pagenaud, Graham Rahal, Roman Grosjean, The highest rookie right now, Christian Lundgaard in 15th place. Connor Daly, David Malukas, Elio Castroneves, Takuma Sato, and Callum Ilott round out the top 20. Then it's Jack Harvey, Jimmy Johnson, Delvin D. Francesca, Kyle Kirkwood, Dalton Kellett round out the top 25. So that does it for your points as well. So good stuff there all around. And that does it for the wrap up here of the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. Like I said, very interesting race, very crash filled race. The last 2 years, that seems like that has been the theme. It was interesting following the race there in the media center. I thought we were going to see a replay of last year's race, if you remember correctly. Beginning of the race, Marcus Ericsson, the T-shirt going around is Air Ericsson. His car took off up and over another car, so everybody thought that Ericsson's day was done, but he fought back and ended up becoming the eventual winner of the inaugural Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. And we thought the same thing as the day unfolded on Sunday, especially when it came to Colton Herta. Had some early problems, fought his way back and finished in the top 10. So we thought we were going to see a repeat of last year, just not quite enough there for Colton Herta and the number 26 Gamebridge Andretti Autosport Honda. Also, again, during the weekend, as I mentioned at the top of the show, I was able to catch up with a fellow IndyCar podcaster, racing podcaster, and YouTuber as well, David Land. So let's get into that interview with Mr. David Land. Let me see if I can get to this here on the board, and we will be right back. Push to Pass podcast, and I am now joined by the famous but yet controversial, depending on how you look at it, David Land on YouTube. David, first and foremost, thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your busy schedule. This has been, I think, for the weeks in the making to join us here. But how are things here? The interview load here for Nashville a minute.
for
the Big Machine
Music City Grand Prix this weekend.
It only moves as fast as it wants to move. So
what she wants to do.
We'll wait for this interview to load up. I believe it's about 15 minutes.
First at the Indianapolis Motor
so
Speedway
long.
for the month of May.
David, as you see,
as I'm sure you know,
search
things
David
have been
Land on
extremely
YouTube,
busy.
or if
I
you
hope
go
everyone
to his Twitter,
who has subscribed, and those of you
find
who
it
will, hopefully after this podcast, are enjoying all the content. But yeah, it's a little rainy here, or at least a little thundery and lightningy here at Nashville, and so we're under a weather delay. But the good news is it means I had a little bit of time to sit down and talk with you. So hopefully this will be a good discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into anything, just curious, tell us, I know you've been at this for a couple years now. What got you into media? I know you are a iRacer, so it sounds like racing is in your blood, but what got you into journalism, and then specifically, was it the iRacing part that got you into journalism, into racing, or is there a different story behind that?
It's a totally different story. It's a long story. My passion and love of racing has been a lifelong thing. It goes all the way back to being a child and pushing around diecast cars on the ground and watching religiously watching tapes.
Habit.
Yes, it does. It's expensive, but my dad worked in the IRL in some of the first couple of years, so I was always around it. I wasn't well connected or anything. Like as soon as he left, it wasn't like there was any connections. So, but I stayed a fan. My family had been going to the Indy 500 since the mid '80s as a family, and I started going in 2002, and I just fell in love with it. And now, from a journalism perspective or from a broadcasting perspective, like that was something that was kind of an interest of mine, kind of second or third behind other things like racing, for example. Now, in school, there was really no way. I was a very creative person, creative kid, and there was no way to really like have an outlet. Like if I had a choice, I would have done like creative writing as like a major, but that wasn't available. So the next best thing was like journalism class. So I took that, and then I kind of parlayed that into broadcasting. Did some broadcasting classes. Now at the same time, while I was kind of developing my skills in broadcasting, I actually had a TV show about cars, and sometimes we touched on racing subjects, but I started doing YouTube. And this was 2008. You know, this is a long time ago. This is the kind of ground floor. And I only did it, you know, again, as a creative outlet. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to make this my career. I never, ever would have thought that this would be a career opportunity. But such is life. Things started to, you know, kind of fall apart in my personal life. Nothing necessarily related to me, but it was more of just like my parents were splitting up. I ran out of money. I'd done 1 year of college, and it was like I didn't like that. So it was all these things that were just kind of coming together. And there came a point where I realized, you know, I would really like to be in racing, but how do I get there? And I noticed that YouTube was really starting to take off and make careers. And I said, okay, what if I made auto racing content on YouTube? What if I talked about IndyCar? Because no one else is doing that. And as it turns out, there was an audience out there that has taken a little while to cultivate, and it certainly has not been easy, but I wouldn't be sitting here with you right now if it hadn't been at least somewhat successful.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And just checking out your subscribers, I think you're over like 73,000 or 73 million. 78. There we go. No, you'll get there in time, absolutely. But glad to see everything is taken off, and I think you may have been. It sounds like one of the starters when it comes to putting content on on YouTube, especially when it comes to IndyCar. So, getting into the present day today, 2022. Who would have thought at the beginning of the season, David, that we would have not only a roller coaster on track, but a silly season nonetheless, one of the silliest I think that me and you have ever been a part of.
Yeah, silly is a way to put it. I think insane season is the way to do it, and it continues to get. I mean, I've heard things today that are just like so off the wall you wouldn't believe it. The crux of this is Zach Brown, and I've said for a while that Zach Brown and McLaren coming into the sport in 2017 was one of the best things to happen to IndyCar because of the massive attention it brings. Now, at the time, in 2017 when I said that, I thought it was all going to be like positive things, like the opportunities for Formula One drivers like Fernando Alonso at the time to come over and participate in the Indianapolis 500. Well, once they began to get involved on the team ownership side of things and hiring drivers out of our talent pool, quote unquote, in the United States, it has gotten to the point where Zach Brown is making big time plays for champion race car drivers here in the States to come drive for him, either in IndyCar or Formula One. And, you look at that with Colton Herta. He very well could be in Formula One in 2 years, driving for McLaren. You look at Alex Palou, IndyCar champion. Very well could be driving in an Aero McLaren SP car next year, could be testing a Formula One car. There's all sorts of things that he could be doing. But the point is that Zach Brown is doing all this stuff, and it's ugly. There's no doubt about it. But I think Drive to Survive has taught us one thing, that it's okay for racing to get a little ugly from time to time, because that is what people are interested in seeing. They're interested in seeing that human side. They're interested in seeing the beef. And I think that's part of, like you said, you called me controversial earlier, which I don't disagree with. But that's something that attracts people, because controversy is entertaining. So, and Zach Brown and McLaren, as it currently stands, is a very entertaining team, and it's very fun to talk about them.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. There's a lot to digest there. First, when it comes to Zach Brown, you got to give him credit, and not on what's recently happened, but the money that he has put into IndyCar since he has come in. I know he has an expansion in Central Indiana. I think that's going to benefit him, obviously, at the 500 and moving forward. But we've also learned too that we found out what is a contract.
Nobody knows what is. Yeah, we don't know what is a contract. It's going to be interesting to see, obviously, how the federal system plays out with Alex Palou. But I think what Zach Brown has done, I think out of the grand scheme of things, how many eyeballs has Zach Brown put on IndyCar? That's exactly, I think, what IndyCar has been missing. And I think, we both agree that the amount of eyeballs that IndyCar has compared to what they could have is astronomical.
Absolutely. I think it's a new way of doing business. Contracts are totally changed forever in IndyCar, I think, after this. I think contracts are going to be written and produced and agreements are going to be made that have provisions for things like this from now on. And it's okay to have change. You never have progression. You never have growth without change. So to me, net positive, but there are going to be growing pains with this. There are going to be lawsuits, and there are going to be people upset. But at the end of the day, like you say, Zach Brown's involvement in IndyCar has been so valuable that a little bit of negativity is okay. It's acceptable, at least for me. And like I said, negativity can be entertaining at times. It doesn't have to always be negative, because if it's always negative, then you're going to turn people off. But when you have negative mixed in with the positive and you don't really know what to expect, that's where good storytelling, is formed. And right now we've got heroes, we've got villains, we've got people that you have no idea what they're going to, who would have ever thought that Alex Palou would be this controversial in IndyCar or have this kind of a controversial thing happen to him? It'd be the center of this controversy. We would have never guessed that, even at the beginning of this season. So it's fun. It's unpredictable. It's exciting. It's like the racing. Now the off-track stuff is as exciting as the racing is. I think that's going to be a good thing for IndyCar.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And speaking of on track, we have about a handful of races left. Will Power is the points leader. It seems like he is the statesman as you look at the rest of the people behind him in the standings. Is Will Power in the proverbial catbird seat here with a handful of races left, or does David see this points lead jostling back and forth as it has for the majority of the season?
Well, I've always looked at it, especially with the top two, is that you've got consistency and you've got inconsistency. Will Power is, I think, probably on the whole a little bit faster than Ericsson throughout the season. Not much. It's very close. And I think Ericsson winning the 500 really has put him – I think Ericsson has the advantage because he got that double points win at Indy. The mistakes that he makes, like, for example, at Indy, not necessarily a mistake, the car blew up, right? But that cost him points to Power. He can tank some of those, no problem. Whereas Will Power has had bad finishes. One of them was actually at Indy. Will's got his work cut out for him. Even though he is the points leader right now, he's one bad race away from Ericsson just consistently earning points and putting himself in the position to win the championship. Now, that being said, I think Will Power is driving as well as he has maybe in his entire career. And this is a driver that a lot of people have kind of talked about as, maybe he's going to be, maybe he's on the outs, even as soon as next year. Whether that's retirement or whether Roger just says it's time, I don't think so. I think Will Power is like you say, he's kind of coming into his own at this time in his career, and I think it's great. At the end of the day, I think it will be Ericsson, but I think it will be close, as we've come to expect. I mean, we haven't had a points championship since, 2005 that hasn't come down to the absolute last possible moment, and I would very much expect that Laguna Seca is going to be a title fight.
Yeah, I know in your videos you've talked about, after Will Power's, the contract he's on now, is that going to be his last? Is he going to, step away or is he going to be forced out, as you said, with Roger basically, giving him the same thing he did to Elio? So it's definitely going to be an interesting watch to say the least. And you talk about Will Power coming into his own, Team Penske. You talk about a dominant season. 1 year ago they had 3 wins, and I believe this year they've doubled it to 6. Is there anything you've seen differently from Team Penske last year to this year that would that has helped them get those 6 wins?
Scott McLaughlin. I mean, he's coming into his own. I think he's really pulling his weight in the team. And when you have 3 strong drivers that are all pulling their weight equally, all winning races, I think it just naturally falls into place. What's funny is if you ask a layperson about whether or not Penske's had a good year, a lot of them will say no because they didn't perform at Indianapolis. Everywhere else. Exactly, and it was his home track before he bought it. So it's fascinating to kind of see how people perceive success in IndyCar because, like you say, they've been dominant everywhere except Indianapolis. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it could end up that Ericsson will win the championship because he won Indy with 1 win, like you say. And so it's very interesting to think about that. But you're right, is that Penske has just absolutely had a great year. And like I say, I think it's because you had all those 3 drivers peaking all at the same time. They are all performing so well. They are so fast. Joseph Newgarden is a man possessed. Joseph Newgarden could very well be a factor in this championship in the stretch run, and he already would be if he hadn't crashed at Iowa. So it's had the car broken and into the wall at Iowa. But I think it's fun. And Scott McLaughlin, like you say, just coming right out the bat with a win. He likes these street courses too. He could be pretty strong here at Nashville.
And speaking of Nashville, before we wrap things up, that's where we're at this weekend. We had Kristen Lundgaard yesterday, atop the charts, P1. This morning, you had the aforementioned Scott McLaughlin finding himself at the charts at P2, or practice 2, rather. We look outside, and ominous weather, I think, is the word right now. What do you expect coming up in qualifying here in the next few minutes, and then on Sunday? Because if we're going to qualify in wet conditions, and Sunday is something totally different, you basically throw qualifying out the window.
I expect the qualifying will get canceled. That's a possibility. But if we do run today, I think you're going to see a really mixed up field because that's one of the things I was talking with Davey Hamilton in the IndyCar radio booth about this is that it is going to be an absolute crazy. It's going to be crazy out there if it's wet because if you look at last year's just the race, it's insane. So qualifying when you have to lay it on the line. It is, and there's points on the line. That's the other thing too. Is in these tight championship battles, you have got to try to get the pole. So the guys like Newgarden, the guys like Ericsson, the guys like Power, Dixon, Palou, he's got a lot to prove, doesn't he? I think all those guys are going to be absolutely going bananas, and and if they stick it in the wall, you have got a very tall task on Sunday to try to win this thing. So it's going to be. If we get it in, I think it's going to be wild. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there. David, for people that don't follow you on social media, on YouTube, first of all, shame on them if they don't. Where can they find you at?
So you can find me on YouTube. You just type in David Land, DAVIDLAND. It's 9 letters. It's pretty easy. Big purple logo, so hopefully it's easy to spot. We talk all sorts of racing. Obviously, IndyCar's the bread and butter, but when something interesting happens in NASCAR, Formula One, IMSA, we actually go to cover IMSA races. It's great. So it's. If you're a motorsports fan, I hope you'll like it, or at least be entertained. I mean, there's certainly a fair number of hate watchers, but we like those too. The clicks count all the same, whether they're there for the right reasons or the wrong reasons. But I think at the end of the day, what I try to do is create discussions and have discussions about things that maybe other people won't talk about. So I think I've kind of built my brand on that, and I hope your listeners enjoy it.
Again, David, huge thank you for carving a little bit of time out of your busy schedule here in Nashville.
Not busy today. We're just sitting around.
in Nashville for joining us, and definitely look forward to what you have in store down the road, and I'm sure we'll talk again.
Absolutely. Thank you, Derek.
Again, that was David Land, as you see, that has been scrolling down at the bottom of your screen there. Make sure not only you go to YouTube and check him out, David Land, but also go to Twitter and give him a follow to at DLand91. So that wraps up our coverage of the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. Again, a huge thank you not only to the drivers that stopped by, but to David Land and then the fans out there at the Nashville street course there as well. Before we wrap things up on this another episode of the Push to Pass podcast, we do have a couple news and notes to get to this week. So let's get to our news and notes section or segment of the show. First and foremost, I know we talked about both of these drivers during the show, but it was announced on Sunday, right before the race, that Ray Hall, Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan. Try saying that. Racing and Fifth Third Bank agreed on a sponsorship extension. Today, again, that was last Sunday, before the start of the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix in Nashville, exciting news came from the Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan Racing camp. It was announced that Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan Racing announced that Fifth Third Bank has extended its relationship with the team through the 2025 NTT IndyCar Series season. The bank will be the primary sponsor of the number 15 entry for Graham Rahal at the GMR Grand Prix at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Sonsa Grand Prix at Road America, the Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio, and the addition of the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix in Nashville. Fifth Third Bank will also have an enhanced associate sponsor present in other key NTT IndyCar Series markets throughout each season, including the Indianapolis 500 and in Monterey, California, and St. Petersburg, Florida. Fifth Third Bank first joined the team in 2016 as an associate sponsor, and the partnership has grown as the two organizations have continued to build upon the pursuant new collaborate business-to-business operations. Quote, not only have we extended our partnership with Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan Racing, but we are excited to announce the Fifth Third Bank car will now race in the streets of Nashville, said Mike Ash, Fifth Third Bank Greater Indiana Regional President. The bank has a strong presence in the Nashville market, run by a local team, and we are excited to bring additional assets and partnerships to the area. Our work with Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan continues to evolve and create tailored experiences for all our clients, as well as long-term community impact, like our recent partnership on May 3rd, supporting all babies born in Central Indiana with newborn essentials and money towards their college savings. In addition to business activities, Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan has participated in Fifth Third Bank's annual Fifth Third Day 5-3 on the calendar by helping to kick off their Feeding Our Communities campaign that takes place in the communities they serve, with the goal of providing more than 1 million meals to those in need in May. In 2022, Graham Rahal also supported 53 baby initiatives in the city by surprising baby borns in Central Indiana with mom and baby essentials, as well as $1,053 provided by the bank to start a new Child's College 529 account. Fifth Third Bank is also a supporter of other racing-relatable charity initiatives, such as Rev, presented by Fifth Third Bank, which benefits IU Health patients, and an annual event that provides children's Theraplay, a physical and occupational therapy for children with special needs. In the end, we take a great amount of pride in the fact that our relationship with Fifth Third Bank continues to grow, said Bobby Rahal, co-owner of the Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing with David Letterman and Mike Lanigan. The caliber of people we have met through our partnership speaks volumes about the company and their mission to contribute to the communities in which they serve. We couldn't be happier not only to continue, but also grow our partnership with Fifth Third Bank throughout the 10-year mark and beyond. So congratulations goes out to the Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing and Fifth Third Bank on their sponsorship extension. All right, the last news and notes that we need to get to here before we get on out of here. Actually, we have two. Sorry, but there is some new backing for AJ Foyt driver Kyle Kirkwood when they go to St. Louis next weekend. The Bommarito Automotive Group continues to expand its footprint in motorsports. Missouri's #1 automotive group has signed as the primary marketing partner of AJ Foyt Racing's number 14 Chevrolet for the Bommarito Automotive Group 500 at Worldwide Technology Raceway August 19th and 20th. Associate sponsor and friends over at Rebel Bourbon are also proud to be part of the 6th annual Bommarito 500 NTT Series event. AJ Foyt, the first 4-time winner of the Indianapolis 500, started his race team over 50 years ago. He won 3 of his 7 IndyCar championships and claimed the final 2 of his Indy 500 victories while driving for his own team. Since his retirement from driving in 1993, the team has continued to win, claiming 2 more national titles and the 1999 Indianapolis 500 victory with Kenny Brack. At Worldwide Technology Raceway, the team has 5 top 10 finishes, 3 of which were in the top 5, including a 5th place finish last year with Sebastian Bourdais and a 3rd place finish in 2019 with Tony Kanaan. The number 14 Bommarito Chevrolet will be driven by rookie Kyle Kirkwood, the 2021 Indy Lights champion, who won a pole and finished second in both Indy Lights races last year at the 1.2-mile oval track at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. The 23-year-old Floridian's miratic ascent to the NTT IndyCar Series is marked by consecutive championships in the 3-tier Road to America Ladder Series. The Bommarito Automotive Group is Missouri's largest automotive group that began with a single Oldsmobile dealership managed by Frank Bommarito over 50 years ago. In 1998, Frank Bommarito handed over the reins to his son John Bommarito, who continued to build the network of dealerships to its present number of 20 locations, employing over 900 team members in the St. Louis area. Quote, "We are honored to be part of bringing the NTT IndyCar Series to the St. Louis region. Thanks to the support of race fans across the country, we've demonstrated that when you win on the weekend, it generates sales on Monday," said John Bommarito, president of the Bommarito Automotive Group. As an iconic brand here in the St. Louis marketplace and selling vehicles nationwide, the Bommarito Automotive Group could not be more prouder to adore the iconic AJ Foyt racing number 14 Chevrolet, driven by Kyle Kirkwood, for the 6th annual Bommarito Automotive Group 500 right here in our hometown. Bommarito and AJ Supertext Foyt together making history. Lastly, I've been a dedicated race fan for decades, and to have the opportunity to partner with AJ Foyt Racing at the 6th annual Bommarito Automotive Group 500 is an honor, said Chuck Walls, vice president and general manager of the Bommarito Automotive Group. To be able to be involved in the motorsports industry at the level Bommarito has dedicated to is an absolute dream come true. So congratulations goes out not only to AJ Foyt Racing, but it also goes out to the Bommarito Automotive Group, who are going to be the primary sponsor when it comes to the race next Saturday. Yes, I said next Saturday. The NTT IndyCar Series is going to be in St. Louis, Missouri for the Bommarito 500, the Bommarito Automotive Group 500. Make sure you check that out. We will have joining us next week as usual. We will have Mike from Bet Indy joining us as we like to do. He is unavailable this week, so that's why he is not joining us here on the podcast. But he will be joining us next week, not only to recap his winnings this past weekend at Nashville, but he'll also give us a little bit of insight as to what to look for next week when making that you're making your picks for the Bommarito Automotive Group 500 on Saturday night. The last piece of news that we do have was announced Sunday as well, and it has to do with the Peretta Autosports and Simona Di Silvestre. Peretta Autosport adds Laguna Seca to schedule with Di Silvestro. Before Sunday's Big Machine Music City Grand Prix in Nashville, Peretta Autosport made a huge announcement as well. Peretta Autosport, along with Ed Carpenter Racing, will add a fourth event to its NTT IndyCar Series season with the number 16 Chevrolet. Making their debut at Road America earlier this season, Peretta Autosport driver Simona Di Silvestre raced at Mid-Ohio and was intent to close the 3-race program this weekend in Nashville. But a new end to the 2022 season has been confirmed for Laguna Seca with an announcement of sponsorship forthcoming. In her 3 prior starts this season, Di Silvestre finished ahead of where she qualified twice, P21 at Road America, starting from P27, and P18 at Mid-Ohio, starting 25th. So congratulations not only to Simona Di Silvestre, but Pereira Autosport rather, being able to put Simona in the car one more time in this 2022 season. So that wraps it up for this episode of the Push to Pass podcast. I hope everyone enjoyed the content that was shared this past weekend from Nashville. Again, the GOAT recapping, Scott Dixon claimed his 53rd career win, which puts him all by himself, number 2 on the all-time wins list. Now just a handful of wins behind legendary AJ Foyt with 67. Also, huge thank you to Elio Castroneves and all of the other drivers that were able to join us here on this podcast. Also, huge thank you to the fans that were in attendance this past weekend at Nashville. Definitely loved and enjoyed hanging out with all of you. And then also, too, huge thank you to David Land. Go check him out on YouTube at David Land, and then on Twitter at DLand. 91. Go check him out. Go give him a follow if you have not already. And then, as always, a huge thank you to everyone that tuned in today, or that will listen or tune in the future, because without you guys, obviously, none of this would be possible. So, for Derik Vance and everyone else here at the Push to Pass podcast, we thank you, and we will see you in the next episode.